Have you ever walked into like a room and it's just full of people you don't know?
Yeah.
Or even just trying to start talking to somebody new, maybe at the coffee shop.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a little scary sometimes, right?
It can feel like a minefield.
Totally.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what to say, how to say it.
Right.
You don't want to, say the wrong thing.
It's a really common feeling.
Yeah.
That moment of just silence,
Yeah.
before you actually say anything. It can be surprisingly hard.
Yeah.
But you know what? It doesn't have to be so scary.
Yeah. And that's actually what we're going to look at today.
Okay.
We've been looking at all this cool stuff about how to make those first conversations easier.
Yeah.
How to make them more comfortable, less scary.
Right.
And how to make them just better so you can actually connect with people.
It's all about making those connections.
Totally. So why don't we just jump right in?
Okay.
Let's start with like the most basic thing.
Yeah.
Saying hello. I mean, it sounds obvious, but what's the big deal about starting off friendly?
Well, hi, how are you? Or hello, nice to meet you. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
They use something that's really important in how we talk to each other.
Okay.
It's like, we know how to do this. We're being polite.
Okay.
And when you use them, in a nice way, it shows that you're somebody that people can talk to.
Right. You're not going to be mean or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not a threat. And that makes the other person, like, without even realizing it, feel comfortable.
Okay. So it's almost like a handshake, but with words.
Uh-huh.
And you say using them in a nice way.
Yeah.
So like your tone matters.
Big time.
And I think a smile, right?
Oh,
like a real smile can change everything.
Totally. Think about it. A smile, it's not just, your face moving around.
Right.
There's actually research that says it makes the other person's brain sort of copy you.
Whoa.
Like their brain sees you smiling and it's like, oh, I should do that too. And so they feel more, positive and open to talking to you.
So it's like science.
Kind of.
That's crazy. So it's not just me being like, oh, be friendly.
Right.
There's an actual reason for it.
Oh.
Okay, so what about taking that even further?
Yeah.
Like the stuff we were reading was talking about adding an introduction right after you say hello.
Uh-huh.
So like, hi, my name is Host Speaker's Placeholder. What's yours?
That's a really good way to start.
Yeah.
Because it's direct and, it shows you want to get to know them.
Okay.
You're not just saying hi and then walking away.
Right.
And it makes it easy for them to, tell you their name.
It takes away that awkwardness. Okay, so what if you're in a specific situation?
Yeah.
Like you're at an event or maybe just waiting for something.
Uh-huh.
How can you use what's around you to start talking to someone?
Well, you can use your surroundings to find something you both have in common.
Okay.
So let's say you're at a party. Instead of trying to think of something random to talk about, you could say, this is a great party. How do you know the host?
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Because you're both there.
Exactly. You're already connected by that.
You're at the same party.
And, you both know the host, so it's a natural starting point.
That makes so much more sense than just going up to somebody being like, hi.
Totally.
Okay, what else?
Well, same kind of thing if you've both just watched something,
Okay.
like a presentation or a show or something. You could just say something like, that was really interesting, wasn't it? What did you think?
Oh, I see. So you're both reacting to the same thing.
Yeah, it gives you something to talk about right away.
Okay, and this next one I really like.
Yeah.
Noticing something about the person and then saying something nice about it.
Oh, like a compliment.
Yeah, like, I love your shoes. Where did you get them?
That's a good one.
Or, that's a cool pin. What does it represent?
Compliments are great because they make the other person feel good.
Yeah.
You're noticing something about them that they chose.
Okay.
And it shows that you care.
You're paying attention.
Exactly. But it has to be genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to actually mean it.
Right. People can tell if you're just being fake.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've said hello.
Mm-hmm.
You've been friendly. Maybe you even gave them a compliment.
Right.
Now, how do you keep the conversation going?
That's where questions come in.
Oh.
And not just any questions, the right kind of questions.
Okay, what makes a question the right kind of question?
Well, you want to move away from questions that just get a yes or no answer.
Okay, so instead of asking, do you live nearby?
Right, which they can just answer yes or no to.
Which I do all the time.
You could ask, what do you enjoy most about living in this area?
Ooh, that's good.
Right.
Because it makes them talk more.
It opens up the conversation.
Okay, what other kinds of questions work well?
Well, what do you think of this event? Is a good one. It gets their opinion,
Right.
which is more interesting than just asking if they're having fun.
Right.
You could also ask, what inspired you to come today?
Oh, so you're finding out why they're there.
Exactly.
Okay, this next one is one of my favorites. What's been a highlight of your week so far?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because everyone likes to talk about good stuff that's happened to them.
It's positive, and people usually have a story to tell.
Right.
And it's not too personal, so it's easy to answer.
It's not like you're asking them about their deepest, darkest secrets.
Exactly.
Okay, what about this one? What do you do for fun when you're not working?
That's a great way to find out about their hobbies.
You're getting to know them outside of just like a work setting.
Right.
Like, what do they actually enjoy doing?
It's a good way to see if you have anything in common, too.
Yeah, totally. And this is where I think being curious really matters.
Yeah.
If they mention something that you think is interesting, ask more about it.
Like a follow-up question.
Exactly. Like, that sounds fascinating. How did you get into that?
Showing that you're really listening makes them feel good.
And it makes them want to keep talking.
Right. It shows you're not just making small talk. You actually care.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
So it's like if they said they love cooking,
Uh-huh.
you could ask, what's your favorite dish to make?
That's a good one.
Or like, have you tried cooking any new cuisines lately?
You're digging deeper into what they're saying?
Like, those questions are little hooks. You know?
Yeah, I like that.
They keep the conversation going.
They keep you both engaged.
Okay, so let's get back to thinking about specific places.
Okay.
If you're in a class or a meeting, you could ask, what are your thoughts on what we just discussed?
That's a good way to use what you're both experiencing at that moment.
Right.
You're already connected by that shared experience.
Okay, what about something more casual?
Like at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You could say something like, this coffee is amazing. What's your favorite thing to get here?
It's so casual and easy.
Yeah, it's low pressure and it's relevant to where you are.
Okay, and I like this one for a conference. This is a really well-organized event. Have you been to this conference before?
Oh, I like that one.
Right.
You're commenting on the environment and maybe finding out if they've been there before.
It's just a simple way to start a conversation. Okay, what if there was like a speaker at the conference?
Yeah,
You could ask, that speaker had some interesting ideas. What really stood out to you?
that's a good one. It goes beyond just saying, hey, that was interesting.
Even more engaging.
Exactly. It shows you're paying attention and you want to hear their thoughts.
Okay, so we've talked about starting conversations and keeping them going.
Right.
But what about feeling confident?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
A lot of people get really nervous talking to new people.
It's totally normal to feel nervous,
Totally. I get nervous too.
but there are things you can do to help.
Okay, good. What kind of things?
Just taking a deep breath before you go talk to someone can actually make a difference.
Okay.
And remind yourself that it's okay to make the first move.
Right.
A lot of times the other person might be just as nervous as you are.
They might even be happy that you started talking to them.
Exactly. They might be relieved.
Okay, so deep breaths, be brave, and what else?
Focus on being approachable. Make eye contact.
Okay.
Smile. Have open body language. Those things show you're open to talking.
So like, don't cross your arms and look at the ground.
Exactly.
Be open and friendly.
Right. And if you're really nervous, focus on your breathing.
Okay.
Slow, steady breaths can really help.
It's like a meditation trick.
It can calm you down.
And remember, you don't have to be perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It's not about giving a speech.
The goal is to connect with someone.
Be yourself. People like that.
Exactly. Being genuine is much more important than trying to be perfect.
Okay, so for people who like to be prepared, what can they do?
Practice a few opening lines beforehand.
Oh,
It
good.
can make that first step a lot easier.
So like having a few things you could say ready to go.
Exactly. And then once you start talking, the conversation will usually flow from there.
What if you say something awkward?
Just laugh it off.
It happens.
What happens to everyone? A little self-deprecating humor can go a long way.
It shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
And that can actually make you seem more approachable.
And more human.
Exactly.
And you know what? Every conversation is a chance to get better.
That's true.
Even if it's a little awkward, you learn something.
It's like practice.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started a conversation, and it's going okay.
Okay.
Now, how do you keep it from ending too soon?
That's where active listening comes in.
Okay, what is active listening?
It's more than just hearing the words.
Okay.
It's about really focusing on what they're saying.
Okay.
Nodding your head, making eye contact, saying things like, that's interesting, or tell me more.
So you're showing them you're paying attention.
Exactly. And those little things encourage them to keep talking.
And it's not just about listening, right?
Right. You need to ask follow-up questions.
So if they say something like, I just got back from a trip to Italy,
You could ask, that sounds amazing. What was your favorite part?
You're showing that you heard them and you want to know more.
Exactly.
Okay, and it's a two-way street.
Yes.
While you're listening, you should share things too,
Right.
but not too much.
Find a balance. Share something about yourself that connects to what they're saying.
So if they say, I love hiking,
You could say, me too. Have you ever been to local hiking trail?
so you're sharing a common interest.
And it makes you seem more approachable.
It's like you're both part of the same club.
Okay, what happens when the conversation starts to slow down?
Sometimes you need to change the subject.
Okay.
You can smoothly move to something new by saying something like, that's really interesting. By the way, what are you doing this weekend?
So you're not just stopping the conversation abruptly.
Right. It keeps things flowing.
And being positive can really help.
Like complimenting their ideas or their perspective.
Saying things like, that's a really insightful way to look at it.
It makes people feel good.
And it keeps the conversation positive and engaging.
Okay, so what about when you're ready to end the conversation?
You want to wrap things up gracefully.
How do you do that?
A simple, it was really nice talking with you.
Yeah.
And then add something that fits the situation.
So if you're in a class or a meeting, you could say,
I really enjoyed this discussion. Maybe we'll see each other again.
okay.
Or if you're at a coffee shop, you could just say, enjoy your coffee.
And if it's more of a professional setting, you might say, I'd love to hear more about your work sometime.
Yeah. And at a party, you could say, it was great meeting you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the party.
Okay, those are good. So we've talked about what to do. Now what about what not to do?
There are some things you want to avoid.
Okay, like what?
When you're just getting to know someone, you should probably stay away from topics that are too sensitive.
Like politics.
Yeah, or really personal questions.
Okay, those can be a little much for a first conversation.
You want to keep things light and comfortable.
And don't talk about yourself too much.
Right, don't overshare. It can be a little overwhelming for the other person.
Nobody wants to hear your whole life story right away.
Exactly.
And don't just talk and talk and talk.
Don't dominate the conversation.
You have to listen to.
It's a balance.
Give the other person a chance to talk.
And don't interrupt them.
Oh yeah, that's rude.
It makes them feel like you're not listening.
What about being negative?
It's generally a good idea to keep things positive, especially when you're first meeting someone.
Right.
Even if you disagree with them, you can say something like, that's an interesting perspective. I was thinking about it a little differently.
So you're being respectful.
Exactly.
Okay, and last but not least, put your phone away.
Be present.
Yeah,
Don't check your phone every 5 seconds.
it's rude.
It makes the other person feel unimportant.
It's like you're not really listening to them.
Exactly. Focus on the person you're talking to.
Okay, we've talked about a lot, but let's go a little deeper into making stronger connections.
Okay.
What about finding things you have in common?
That's one of the best ways to build rapport quickly.
I agree.
When you discover you share an interest, it creates a bond.
It's like instant friendship.
So if they mention they love cooking and you love cooking too, you could ask about their favorite cuisines.
Or their favorite cooking shows.
Exactly. You're both passionate about the same thing.
And it makes the conversation more fun.
Right, because you're both genuinely interested.
What other things can you talk about to find common ground?
Hobbies, music, travel, books.
It's all about finding those things you both connect with.
And even if your interests aren't exactly the same, be curious about theirs.
Yeah.
You might learn something new, and you might even discover some unexpected connections.
Okay, so once you've talked about the basics, how do you get into more interesting conversations?
Ask open-ended questions that let them share more about themselves.
Like, that's interesting. How did you get started with that?
Or, what do you find most rewarding about that hobby?
Those questions make them think more deeply.
And they usually lead to more personal stories.
You could also ask about their goals.
What are you most looking forward to in the coming months?
What are your dreams?
Those kinds of questions can lead to really meaningful conversations.
And don't forget to share things about yourself, too.
Right. It should be a two-way street.
Sharing something personal can make them feel more comfortable doing the same.
Exactly.
You could even ask about their values or beliefs.
But in a way that's not confrontational.
So, like, what's a piece of advice that's really stuck with you?
That's a good one.
Okay, let's talk about awkward silences again.
Those can be tough.
They happen to everyone.
Don't panic.
What can you do?
Ask a simple question about something neutral.
Okay.
Like, what are you doing this weekend?
Or talk about something around you.
Yeah, you could say, this music is really nice.
And sometimes you can just acknowledge the silence.
With humor.
Yeah, like, wow, I guess we're both really deep thinkers.
It can break the tension.
And it can give you a chance to steer the conversation in a new direction.
And remember, A pause isn't always a bad thing.
Right. Sometimes it's good to just let things breathe.
It gives you both a moment to think.
Body language. We've talked about it a bit, but
Yeah,
how important is it really?
it's super important.
Right.
Your body language can say a lot without you even saying a word.
Okay, like what?
Make eye contact, have an open posture, nod your head to show you're listening.
So you're showing that you're engaged and approachable.
Exactly.
And you should pay attention to their body language too.
Right.
Are they leaning in? Are they making eye contact?
Or are they closed off?
Okay.
Their body language can tell you how they're feeling.
So you could adjust how you're acting based on that.
And remember that your own gestures and expressions should be warm and friendly.
Okay, and what about your tone of voice?
That's important too.
A warm and friendly tone is much better than a flat or monotone one.
Exactly.
It makes it sound more sincere.
And more engaging.
Okay. Any more tips on how to manage those nerves?
Remember, shift your focus to the other person. Listen to what they're saying. And tell yourself that it's going to be okay.
Positive self-talk.
Exactly. And remember, they're probably nervous too.
You're not alone.
You're both in the same boat. And the more you practice, the easier it gets.
It's like any skill, you get better with time. What about humor? How can you use that in conversations?
Humor is a great way to build rapport.
I love making people laugh.
A lighthearted joke or a funny observation can lighten the mood,
Okay.
can make everyone feel more relaxed, but make sure it's appropriate.
Right, you don't want to offend anyone.
And try making a joke about something you both experienced.
Like something that happened at the event or something.
Exactly. It creates a sense of connection.
We're in this together.
And humor can be a great way to revive a conversation that's starting to drag.
It's like a little jump start.
And a bit of self-deprecating humor can make you more relatable.
But don't overdo it.
Right.
We've talked a lot about open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Why are they so important?
They really are the key to a good conversation.
They keep things moving.
Instead of getting just a yes or no answer, you get the other person to really talk.
Okay, so instead of asking, do you like your job?
Ask, how did you decide to pursue your current career?
Or instead of, have you traveled much?
Ask, what's the most memorable trip you've ever taken?
Okay, those are good. And don't forget to ask follow-up questions.
That's crucial.
You have to show that you're listening and that you want to know more.
It keeps the conversation going and it makes the other person feel heard.
What about sharing your own experiences?
It's good to share, but don't take over the conversation.
Okay.
Offer a story or an anecdote that connects to what they're saying, but always bring the focus back to them.
So you're sharing, but you're also make sure they get to talk too.
It should be a back and forth.
We talked about compliments at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
But what about giving compliments throughout the conversation?
A genuine compliment can make someone feel really good.
It shows that you're paying attention and you appreciate what they're saying.
And be specific. Instead of saying, you're so smart.
You could say, that's a really insightful way to look at that problem.
Exactly.
And finding common ground isn't just for the beginning of a conversation.
Look, you can do it throughout.
Keep looking for things you both connect with.
It could be a favorite author, a shared experience, or even just a similar way of thinking.
And even if your interests are totally different, be open to learning about theirs.
Yeah, you might be surprised at what you discover.
Let's talk about active listening one last time.
Okay.
It's so important.
It really is. It's about more than just hearing the words.
You have to understand what they mean and how they feel.
Use phrases like, that makes sense, or I understand, to show you're following along.
And ask questions if something isn't clear.
And try repeating back what they said to make sure you got it right.
Oh yeah, showing them you're really present.
Exactly.
And put your phone away.
No distractions.
Give them your full attention.
And when they share something personal, acknowledge their feelings.
So if they're talking about something that's frustrating them,
You could say, that sounds really challenging.
you're showing empathy.
Exactly.
Okay, any final tips on those awkward silences?
If you're really stuck, just acknowledge it.
Like, whoops. My mind went blank for a second. Where were we?
Yeah, something like that.
It could be a good reset.
It can lighten the mood and get the conversation back on track.
Body language one last time.
Yes.
Any final thoughts?
Keep your body language open and relaxed.
Okay,
Make eye contact, but don't stare them down.
right.
Smile genuinely. You can even try subtly mirroring their body language.
Interesting. Why?
It can create a sense of connection.
Ah, okay.
And be aware of their cues. Adjust your approach based on how they seem to be feeling.
And timing is important too.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Knowing when to talk, when to listen, and when to end the conversation.
It's all about being mindful of the flow and the other person's cues.
Patience and observation are key.
Wow, we've covered so much today. It's amazing how much goes into having a good conversation.
It can seem simple, but there's actually a lot to it.
The good news is that anyone can learn these skills.
With a little practice and awareness, you can become much more confident.
So for you, our listener, we encourage you to try out some of these tips.
Go out there and start conversations.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
And don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
Every conversation is a chance to learn and grow.
The more you do it, the more natural and enjoyable it will become.
Thanks for joining us for this session of Everyday English Pod. We hope you found this helpful.
Keep practicing and keep connecting.
Until next time.
Bye. Bye.